Hello, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to invite you to join me on my next Legal Lines, where I have as a guest Chandler Loupe. He is the Mayor Pro Tem for East Baton Rouge Parish and, of course, the City of Baton Rouge. Chandler's going to talk to us about the issues currently facing the city and the parish. And, of course, one of those issues is whether or not there's going to be a new city called St. George. He's also going to discuss the state of education in the parish. So join us on the next Legal Lines with Mayor Pro Tem Chandler Loupe. Hi, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for being our Legal Lines audience for almost 15 years. Our audience now is over 500,000 households. I'd also like to thank Cox Channel 4 and my friend Eric Coleman for being with me from the beginning. From all of us, thank you. Welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have back on the show today Chandler Loupe. He's the Mayor Pro Tem of East Baton Rouge Parish, City of Baton Rouge. Chandler, it's great to see you again.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I can't believe it's been a year since we sat down and did this for the first time.
Yeah.
And back then, I think you had just won unopposed your second term.
Right.
And then were unanimously elected by the Metro Council to be the Mayor Pro Tem, which is second in line, only behind the mayor, to run the city.
That's right.
And so, you know, we talked about basically the state of the city at that time and kind of the issues that you expected to deal with over that next year, and here we are. So let's talk about it. You know, I know the mayor just recently gave the State of the City address, and he was pointing out some really great things like IBM opening up a center downtown. They're talking about this new water park, and we'll talk about that in a little while.
Okay.
But a big issue that seems to be on everybody's mind is the proposed new city of St. George.
Right.
And I know that this week y'all were dealing with a couple of issues, as at least in your view, seem to deal with that. So tell the folks about what two issues were.
We had two issues. One was they're trying to codify a service agreement, which would basically guarantee for the next 10 years any taxes collected in the unincorporated part of the parish, which is St. George area, would then go back to the City of Baton Rouge. So, you know, in my opinion, that was directly related to the St. George issue. And then the other issue we dealt with is that there were 3 fire board appointments to the St. George Fire District, and Councilman Delgado was trying to have those board members ousted and replaced by Baton Rouge fire people and other people that I'm not sure even live in the St. George district. But
interesting. So in your view, those two proposals, and I think I've read this, in your view, those two proposals were put before the Metro Council strictly to make it more difficult, or I guess less attractive somehow, for the proposed city of St. George to go ahead and be voted on and have resources.
Absolutely. I mean, the first one with the codifying the service agreement that's already been in existence since 1991 would make it more difficult. The second part, the fire district, was I think more just like a shot over the bow that, you know, if you mess with us, we're going to mess with you. At least that's how I took it, because in my 5 years, I've never had anybody quibble about the job that St. George Fire Protection does, or the board members. I mean, they're very professional, one of the best fire districts in the state.
That's right.
Much less the city. And, you know, in the 45 years that they've grown, it's just been one of the best assets for the south part of the parish.
And so it's Councilman Delgado that put forth both those items?
Correct.
Interesting. And in fact, I think I even read that he has threatened that he was going to file a lawsuit against the folks who are attempting to incorporate the city of St. George.
He did, and he's also, before that, wanted to annex businesses into the City of Baton Rouge, but there hadn't been any takers on that yet. Maybe some will in the future, but it seems like, you know, everything that's being proposed is really just giving more momentum to the St. George effort. Not much leadership, just a lot of throwing rocks, in my opinion.
And am I correct in understanding that Councilman Delgado is planning on trying to run for mayor or something? Is that the...
He's already announced he's a candidate.
Okay. So maybe that's behind this. Well, let me ask you this. So the Metro Council voted, and what happened?
It was denied. It failed. It only garnered 6 votes. Now, one council member was absent. I don't know how he's going to vote next time, but it's, you know, as it stands now, they don't have the votes for it. That could change, obviously.
And who's the councilman who wasn't present?
Joe Bowie, he was ill.
Okay.
You know, everybody seems to have the flu these days.
So are those items going to come back before the Metro Council?
They will. They'll be voted on again.
Okay, and I guess there's notice of when those will be set and such.
Yes,
All
yes.
right. And I also have read that the mayor is against the formation of the new city. Is that correct?
He is. He took a public position that it was dividing the parish. It was bad for the city. Took various positions that were, you know, directly antagonistic to the St. George movement. You know, whether he was right or wrong, I think some middle ground should have been attempted before that, and evidently it wasn't. So, you know, you have two people on either side of the fence that don't agree on much right now.
Chandler, I've actually interviewed a couple of the guys who are involved in this, done a show with them, and based on their communications with me and what I've read, kind of the impetus for all of this began several years ago, three or so years ago, when residents in that area of the unincorporated part of the parish were seeking an independent school district. What is your understanding of all of this?
From a history standpoint, what I understand it to be was completely 100% about school choice, about these people in the southern part of the parish that started this petition wanted to get involved in the education of their children. And they went to the legislature and they had the support of Bodie White and other legislators to form an independent school district, similar to Zachary, similar to Central.
Right.
And who could quibble with the results that those two cities that are in East Baton Rouge Parish, by the way? We do have other cities in our parish.
Right, we have 4 currently. Counting Baton Rouge.
Right.
This would just be a 5th city.
So it kind of, you know, has been polarized that St. George is trying to tear the parish apart, but we really already have 4 other cities. So Zachary and Central were models that were used by these families, mothers and fathers, that they wanted to improve their kids' education. They went to the legislature probably twice or 3 times. I know they were denied twice by a pretty close vote.
I think they even had some legislation that passed, but they couldn't get the final.
Both chambers, correct.
In funding.
And so the impediment kept being thrown at them that no, we're not going to approve this. No, we're not going to approve this. And if you go even back further in history, when Mayor Holden was in the legislature, Central tried to do the same thing, and he was one of the champions behind the cause that Central you need to incorporate before you get your independent school district.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yes.
So the mayor who now opposes the formation of a city is the one that, when in the legislature, was saying it was a necessary part of being empowered and enabled to provide education for your children.
Absolutely correct.
Amazing.
And that was pointed out by an editorial by Rolf McAllister.
Baton Rouge Business Report.
Yeah, recently. So, you know, they were denied twice. They've been told they needed to incorporate, and that's what they're doing now.
Okay. And I guess these attempts at the Metro Council are in a way, at least my interpretation of it is they're trying to deny these folks the ability to be in control, or at least be involved actively in the education of their children so they can stay in East Baton Rouge Parish.
I sense your frustration. Because how can I, as a public official, tell anyone that you don't have the right to vote on whether your child can have a good education or not?
Well,
I mean, if that's not the most fundamental right that we have as human beings in this parish, I don't know what is.
Well, and the truth is, the quandary for our children and our grandchildren is, are you going to be able to afford a private education in the hundreds of thousands, be able to send them to a magnet school somehow, or are you going to leave? So let's talk about that on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith with Legal Lines. Mayor Pro Tem Chandler Loupe will be right back. Hi, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for being our Legal Lines audience for almost 15 years. Our audience now is over 500,000 households. I'd also like to thank Cox Channel 4 and my friend Eric Coleman for being with me from the beginning. From all of us, thank you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. Again, very pleased to have on the show today Chandler Loupe. He is the Mayor Pro Tem of East Baton Rouge Parish and the City of Baton Rouge. Chandler, let's dive right back in. We were talking about the City of St. George and the motivation for the folks who've been trying for years now to try and take control of their children's education so they don't have to leave the City of Baton Rouge and Parish of East Baton Rouge.
Right. I mean, we complain about losing residents to Livingston and Ascension.
Which have the #1 and #2 best performing schools.
Right.
Next door.
Next door. We complain about city parish employees not living in East Baton Rouge Parish. I think it's 50% of our police officers reside out of the city limits and out of the parish. We complain about city employees not living in the parish. But what we forget in all those complaints is the impetus for all these people to live outside of our parish is so they can provide a quality education to their children at a price they can afford.
That's right.
I mean, we can't pay a police officer a low wage and then expect him to afford a private education or expect him to settle for our school district, which is rated a C.
That's right. And the bottom line is the poor condition of our schools has existed now for decades, and it is acknowledged by our state legislature by the very fact that they've passed these laws that relate to charter schools.
Correct.
I mean, I just don't understand. Yes, I do. Because here's the issue. If the new city is formed, the City of Baton Rouge loses, what, between $50 and $60 million in revenues. Is that correct?
There's so many numbers floating out there that it's hard to tell.
Because I've heard St. George say it's a lot less, around 14 million. Maybe.
Right, and you know they include portions of that you know have to do future sales tax revenue forecasting, which, as I've learned in my 5 years, is very tricky from a city parish budget standpoint. For instance, this year we were expecting our sales taxes to go up every month.
It was a little lower, wasn't it?
Last month they went down. So, you know, all these forecasts and economist reports have some validity to them, but they're not something that I think should impede anybody's ability to discuss the issue and vote on it.
But would you say the main concern, at least as it's been expressed to you, is it's going to take away millions of dollars of revenue that the city is spending elsewhere, perhaps?
Well, no, they're spending it in the city limits. They're not
in
spending
the
it.
parish.
Correct. These are all funds that would be dedicated to city services. So they're worried about losing those funds, and they should be. I mean, that, you know, if you've been budgeting for 10 years based upon revenue generated outside of the City of Baton Rouge, you're going to have to account for that. There are ways to account for that. The sky is not going to fall. Now, you know, how many times have we heard that from the City of Baton Rouge and the East Baton Rouge School Board? Every time somebody challenges the East Baton Rouge School Board, we hear this is going to be the death knell for that. This is going to wipe them out.
Right.
Charter schools, RSD. Every time there's a scandal at the school board, you know, if you keep going on, this is going to be our death knell. Well, it's still there. It's still average rated. Nothing is improved as far as I know, and I'm by no means a public school expert. I was fortunate enough to be able to send my children to private schools.
Well, I'm a Lehigh graduate back in the days when
I
they were
remember
great.
that. Lehigh was a heck of a school, and the new facility is nice. But look how long it took them to build that. Look how long it took them to execute that. And in my district, District 3, we have no public schools, not a one. So in my part of South Baton Rouge, we don't have a choice.
Well, in fact, one of the complaints that I've read is that, you know, if the new city's formed, they don't have enough school buildings within the unincorporated parish, which would be the boundaries of the new city, to deal with those kids. Which
Okay,
is, to me, is evidence of the very fact that there should be money spent in the area.
But if you throw that same stone and look at what the school board just had to face 2-3 weeks ago, they had the same exact problem. They got more kids than desks, so they shuffled them around. They had public meetings. That issue exists
everywhere,
system-wide.
So,
it's not one that just St. George is going to be faced with, and again, the sky's falling.
So Chandler, why doesn't the Metro Council and the mayor and the city parish government fix our school system? Do y'all have no power over the school system?
This is the only power I have right now.
Meaning
Sit here,
talking publicly.
Talking to you, going to public meetings, answering emails. I don't control their budget. I don't control their tax revenue. I have virtually no control over the public school system.
No control over decisions?
The only decision I make, Locke, is when I pay my taxes that fund the public school system that I don't get any benefit.
Same for the mayor. The mayor has absolutely no control or power or influence over the school board?
He may have influence, but as far as money, direction, none. None.
So who does have the control? Is it strictly the school board?
It's strictly in the hands of the school board. The legislature has some input into that. For instance, charter schools. Big issue right now because charter schools take money away from the public school system.
Does the school, I mean, the money follows the child to the school that he or she decides to attend.
It doesn't go through the school board system.
They're not forced to go to a bad school.
So they're against charter schools. And my district is getting its first charter school in a year. It will be located in Gardere. The kids in Gardere will be able to ride their bikes to school. Their parents will be required, as a charter school does, to participate in their education. Now, how great is that?
Right.
I mean, is that too much to ask?
All right. So in your view and based on your experience in city government, the only body and individuals who power are the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board, meaning the members,
right?
And I guess the fellow in charge of it.
And the legislature has some control over them.
All right. So obviously, if folks,
which is why we're ended up where we are with St. George.
All right. So let's shift gears.
All right.
Big major issue there. We'll see how it goes because, as I understand it, they're getting close to the point where they have the requisite numbers of signatures on the petition. A vote is held. If a majority of the registered voters are in favor of creating a new city, then it moves forward. Now, there's been all kinds of threats of lawsuits, but we'll see where it goes.
Right.
All right, shifting gears.
Sure.
Crime. I know that is an issue that is hugely important to you on a personal level because of your son, Thomas.
Right.
Tell the folks quickly how Thomas is doing.
He's doing good. He's doing good. He's caught up with school. He will hopefully graduate in May from Christian Life, wonderful school, and then he's going to decide what he's going to do in life. But you know, we've been blessed. I've met so many people that would trade places with us. You know, you don't realize how many tragedies there are in the world until it affects you, and then you start meeting other people. So I've tried on a personal level, and I know my wife has, to give back as much as we felt like we've gotten from this, which is a lot. You know, we're blessed. And
Chandler, I actually saw someone here in the last couple of months, and they mentioned to me that they saw you down on your knees praying and tears coming down your face. I know it has affected your family in huge ways.
Right.
Tell us the good that's come from it.
Well, you know, sometimes the tears, I've always been a crier.
Me too.
Since, I mean, you know, a sad movie or whatever, but, you know, crying and laughing are two things that I just have to do. My brain is wired that way. If I'm sad, I need to cry and get it out. And, you know, I do that. And if I'm happy, I like to laugh. I mean, it's just, you know, it's almost my personality is either one way or the other.
And so all in all, it's been I won't say positive, but been a life-changing experience.
I would call it positive.
Okay,
I know
well,
a lot
we'll
of people
continue that
would.
on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith Legal Lines. Mayor Pro Tem Chandler Loupe will be right back. Hi, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for being our Legal Lines audience for almost 15 years. Our audience now is over 500,000 households. I'd also like to thank Cox Channel 4 and my friend Eric Coleman for being with me from the beginning. From all of us, thank you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. Again, pleased to have on the show Chandler Loupe. He's the Mayor Pro Tem of East Baton Rouge Parish in the City of Baton Rouge. Chandler, you know, we were talking about your son. Just to remind folks real quick, he was shot point blank, was in ICU, could have died, was paralyzed from the waist down, as I understand it. and obviously an extraordinarily challenging time for you and your family, and of course Thomas. But you said you would call it a positive experience. Explain that.
It's hard, I guess, for people to understand unless they've been through something like that. But I mean, I probably said this last show, it sounded like a broken record, but people walk up to me on the street that I've never met and said, you know, we were just praying for your family in our prayer group. And I'm like, you know, that's a blessing every time I get that. And I hate to say this too, Locke, but when we get to be our age, you know, I get more from giving than receiving. I guess it's the cycle of life. And so, I've been able to give back to people, talk to people, counsel them. I get a lot of calls from parents.
You've been in the fire.
Yeah, they just want to, somebody to talk to. And I get more talking to them personally than they probably getting from me. But that's how I feel about it. So. And
he's doing well.
He's doing great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's shift this. Obviously, you're a victim of crime, as is your whole family, and particularly your son. And I've been reading. I interviewed Hillary Moore, our district attorney. I've been reading that it appears that the murder rate for Baton Rouge has gone down by about, I think last read, 22% or so.
Right.
And what do you attribute that to?
I think everybody attributes it, and I would agree to this idea of community policing. The Baton Rouge Police Department calls it BRAVE, and there's one gentleman in particular that I won't call him out, but he runs the BRAVE department for the Baton Rouge Police. He's probably one of the best guys I've had the pleasure to meet. That's the other blessing that I have from being in this office is I've met just some people that inspire you. You wake up and you think about what they have to do every day, and it gets you out of bed and gets you going, gets you to do the next thing you have to do.
So BRAVE is focusing, as I understand it from Hiller and the sheriff and others, that they're sending out police officers to create relationships in the high crime zip code areas.
Right.
They're having one-to-one communications with gangs and groups of kids who are primarily seem to be the offenders. And then they warn them, and if they keep doing it, they take them down.
It's similar to what the sheriff is doing. I like to call them both community policing and break them down into very basic elements. And it basically breaks down, instead of the police officer or sheriff's deputy riding down the street in their car with the window half cracked, looking at people, they park the car on the side of the road, they get out their car, they meet the neighborhood, they meet the people, they give their cell phone out. These neighbors feel like they can trust them and call on them when they have a problem with crime or they see a crime being committed, and know that there won't be any repercussions for doing that. And it's basically walking. You walk these neighborhoods. Absolutely. I've walked with them.
Now, I know that I read an article, LSU has, I'm trying to remember his name, but Shahade, I believe is the name,
right,
of a professor or researcher who provides them statistics, helps them identify and target areas. And so it's been a collective effort of a lot of law enforcement at the state and local level and with LSU. So we're very thrilled to hear that. Of course, we still have a high murder rate, which is unfortunate.
And we've had the home invasions that
locally
really scary
in the last couple of weeks. So we still have a serious crime problem, in my view, but at least we're focusing on components of it. That leads to this question: how much are we dedicating in monies and resources to the police force and to the district attorney to make sure when Hiller gets them, he can keep them behind bars?
The sheriff's money has been fixed and budgeted per a property tax.
Right.
He's had a limited amount of money to work on through his budget unless he gets a tax increase. Now his millages have been rolled forward, and they include additional appraisal of values that go up. The city parish police department's budget has gone up every year I've been on the council. So the mayor's done a good job of keeping it funded and increasing funding for that. But if you look at the numbers, we really don't have any more policemen than we had last year.
So no more boots on the ground,
so
to speak.
Attrition from retirement and leave in the new class, I think, came out to about even. So we're really keeping the level about the same. But the police hadn't approached me personally, or I think the council, and said, hey, I need another 100 officers. Now, would that help? I mean, I don't see how it couldn't help. But right now, I think they're focusing on different areas and different methods. And community policing works.
Excellent.
Everybody agrees with that.
And as I understand it, the district attorney's office, they're pretty much status quo as last year also.
You know, his funding is, he gets state funds. He does get some from the city parish. I would love to see him get more because the district attorneys, I believe, are underpaid.
Oh, I've never seen a more hard-working man in my
Yeah,
life, and I'm sure that everybody under him is putting in 24/7.
Hiller's
also.
not the highest paid parish official, and he probably should be.
Amen. All right, so let's talk about, because I was frankly surprised when I was asking you, and I'll do it now. How do council members make their decisions? And I assumed it was similar organization because there were committees.
Right.
Some of y'all maybe add some folks to the committee who aren't public officials, and they'll study issue, get educated on it, and they'll make recommendations, and the Metro Council then pretty much would defer to them. Y'all
Right.
don't have committees anymore.
We don't have committees. It's pretty much up to each individual to do their due diligence, to respond to emails, to ask constituents, to do their own independent research, and to look at the documents that are provided to us.
Why do we not have committees? When did that go down?
We had committees, and in my opinion, it was just another meeting. I don't know that we were given any more information than we were already given. It kind of helped people prepare in advance of the regular meeting. So if you weren't doing that, I think it was a good system to have in place. But you know, from a personal level, I read every agenda item,
Right.
I read everything, and then if I don't get the answers from reading it, I ask who I need to ask.
So the way for the public to participate in educating their council person is to do what?
Send us an email. I can't tell you that everybody reads their emails. I read every one you send to me, and if it asks for a response, I respond to it. It may be, you know, we don't agree, but emails, set up an appointment with my office. Every Wednesday, I usually start at 9, 10 in the morning, sometimes a little later, and do all my meetings before the council for each agenda item. If somebody wants to come talk to me about a sewer issue, I have those meetings usually at their house.
So it's basically communicate with your council person, show up at the public meetings and voice what the issue is that you have concern about, and try and educate the folks, and then I guess vote.
That's correct. That's correct. I know it seems kind of limited, but we do get a lot of input from constituents.
Let me ask you this.
On the St. George issue, I think we probably got 1,000 emails on
Excellent.
that one issue.
Excellent. Well, that means folks are communicating. So the bottom line is the Metro Council and the mayor's relationship, as I understand, we have an extraordinarily powerful mayoral position. And the Metro
President of the parish.
And the Metro Council, basically, he presents a budget, says where he's going to spend the money, y'all have an up or down vote, and that's it.
That's it.
Chandler, great to see you again.
You too, Locke.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
Thanks for being with
Okay.
us. This is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines, Chandler Loupe, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you for being with us.